Welcome everybody, this is Andrew with Spark Finance, and we have the world's first Bitcoin ETF coming to the market near you. So it actually launched on October 19th, 2021 on the New York Stock Exchange. It was called the BITO ticker symbol for the Proshares Bitcoin Strategy Fund. And this is huge news for the cryptocurrency space and Bitcoin in particular. And so the question is, should you buy the Bitcoin ETF? Is that the best way to get exposure to cryptocurrency? To get this exchange traded fund? Well, I'm gonna go into that a little bit later, but I wanna go into some other points first that explain, where we are now and all this news that's coming out about the ETF. So the ETF, or exchange traded fund, basically is a vehicle, a financial investment vehicle used to try and mimic the price of an asset. So there's some, for example, a gold ETF. They basically want to track the price of gold. And so that when you invest $10 in the gold ETF and the price of gold goes up $10, you make $10 on the ETF. That's the kind of the concept of it, right? So this fund came out on October 19th, 2021, and it kind of crushed everything because it was all over the news. And it did about $1 billion in total trading volume on its first day. So if you look at a chart of all of the top ETF debuts, this was one of the best ones for the first day of trading of all time. And then if you look at the actually net asset value, it was around $40 when it came out. And at the close on the first day, it went up to about $41.94. So this happened just recently, and then you had a lot of news previously also about Bitcoin in the year 2021. On May 3rd, 2021, you had the Chicago Mercantile Exchange say that they will do a micro Bitcoin futures. They will be doing micro Bitcoin futures. So that means that they have a option there for people to trade Bitcoin futures. And that was a huge thing because that was like the first financial asset where they were actually going to allow real institutions to invest in Bitcoin. Then after that, you had around September 7th, 2021, you had El Salvador. The whole country decided in a vote, hey, we're gonna make Bitcoin legal tender for all of our people in our society. And to think of like how crazy that is, right? If you look at a US dollar, a greenback, it says right on there, legal tender for all debts, public and private. So think how crazy it would be if the US government suddenly said, you know what, you guys don't have to be worrying about using the US dollar anymore. You can just use Bitcoin for every transaction in your life and in the economy. I mean, that would be pretty crazy, right? Are we gonna get to a point where we do that before they have a central bank currency? Anyway, one of the reasons why El Salvador is able to do this now is something with the Lightning Network that the Bitcoin network is using now, where they can do transactions very quickly to compete with credit cards, which process, you scan your credit card and you can pretty much process stuff instantly. So the Lightning Network is actually enabling low transaction fees and quick transactions to happen with Bitcoin. And without going in all the technical side, you can watch separate videos if you want to see the technical side of how that's done. It's been a great addition to make Bitcoin able to be more widely adopted and actually used for a day-to-day currency, which was its original vision. So you had that come out here. You had a lot of stuff happen this year. The price earlier around the May 2021 time period, the price of Bitcoin actually hit an all-time high around $65,000 for one Bitcoin. Now that's crazy because do you guys remember when it was just a couple $100 a coin and now we're talking $65,000 for one coin? Then it sold off and it lost about half of its value over a period of a few months there. It went from May to July 2021 and it went all the way down to 29,000 per coin. So it really sold off. But then what you started to see is you started to see it leveling out between 30,000 and 33,000. It kind of had a support level there. Every time it would go below that support level, it would shoot right back up to 30,000. People would hop in and start buying again. And it trended there for a few weeks, which helps to show when you start seeing a floor in the price level. Then we had this additional news. We have this Bitcoin ETF coming to market. The price shot up to a new all-time high of 67,000 So it just doubled again since July 2021. So if you purchased then and have it now, it doubled. Now we have this Bitcoin ETF out on the market. And we're thinking about what is the best way to invest in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency now? Should you be buying the Bitcoin ETF? Well, I think the Bitcoin ETF is made for a very specific purpose and for certain individuals. If you're an individual investor, right? Right now, anybody can go onto any brokerage account, type in BITO, the ticker symbols for the fund, and they can purchase the Bitcoin ETF. The thing is, that ETF is based on the futures price from the Chicago Mercantile Exchange for Bitcoin. It's not actually purchasing Bitcoin and holding it all, and then you're purchasing an asset that has the actual Bitcoin. So I do feel like that's not the best way to necessarily invest in it. The ideal way, if you're an individual, would be to go on an exchange where you can purchase and sell the Bitcoin or sell any cryptocurrencies for that matter. And there's a few different ones with this. And I'm not going to say which ones because they change their policies all the time. So you have to kind of decide that for yourselves. But something like PayPal, right? You can purchase the cryptocurrency there, but you can't transfer it off platform. And that's very important. So what you want is you want an actual exchange where you can buy it and then you can transfer it to anybody else, or you can transfer it to your own cold storage wallet. That's one of the safest ways to actually hold the actual Bitcoin in a safe location. You can lock it up in a bank vault if you want. And it doesn't have to worry about the exchange itself getting hacked, like what happened with a bunch of exchanges in the past, or having regulators come in and try and close down the site, or having the government banning it and closing the website down, or maybe even the company goes bankrupt and then you can't get access to your funds or your Bitcoin. So that would be very bad. So that's why it's important to be able to transfer it off grid to the cold storage. Now there's also another way, and you see this is a little bit riskier, but as an individual, it gives you a lot more reward and you're able to kind of hedge that risk. You can also get coins locally on localcoins.net or from somebody you know, where you can purchase Bitcoins through through a meetup. And that's another way to gain access to the coins rather than buying the Bitcoin ETF. Now you see there's some inherent risks in there, and you don't want to just meet some random stranger in public and hand them cash, and you don't want to necessarily have to deal with an exchange and trying to figure out how do I transfer this to cold storage and all that stuff. If you want the simplest possible method, then by all means you can just go buy the Bitcoin ETF and you have exposure to Bitcoin. That's the quickest way to do it. But it's really made for the institutional investors because they have, let's say you're a pension fund or mutual fund, a hedge fund, any money manager that has a large pool of funds, you have certain rules and regulations on how you can utilize the money in your fund, what you can invest it in, how all of those investments are going to be taxed, how you're going to record the profits, and also sometimes it matters where they come from with the ESG investing for one example of that, right? So you don't know where the coins are coming from in that situation. And now in the ETF, you don't really care because it's based on the futures price. So all of these major institutions, now think of how much demand that is. They can easily and comply with all regulatory requirements and tax purposes. They can go and purchase an asset that gives them exposure to Bitcoin. So that is huge. And that should create a lot of demand for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in the future. Now, this is the first exchange traded fund that went on the market. What's going to happen if you have this for a bunch of different cryptocurrencies, if you have it for a basket of cryptocurrencies, if you have one that's actually taking physical possession of the coins, not physical because they're virtual coins, but they're taking possession of the coins rather than basing it off of the futures. There are a lot of different options here, and because this is the first one, it's very interesting to see how this goes, and we see how it already drove up the price of a bunch of cryptocurrencies just with this news coming out. So I think it's very interesting to watch all this innovation in this ever-expanding sector here in the economy and seeing how the financial world and mainstream world reacts to what is going on and who's profiting and who's losing out on all of these different changes here. Thanks for watching. This is Andrew with Spark Finance. I hope I gave you some info there on the Bitcoin ETF and maybe if you should want to invest in it or find an alternative route. And also, if you want to see some other videos on investing or business or economics, check out the other videos on my channel. And remember to like, subscribe, hit a bell, send me some crackers and or cookies in the mail. I don't know. Have a great day.